俺たちの愛情で世界中を燃え上がらせてやるぜ。やりまくるぞ!
Hey everyone, welcome to the Screams and Queens, Kings and Things podcast, where we talk about all your favorite horror movies with sickening drag queens, kings, things, and all other in-betweens. I am your host, Juno, and today I have with us the wonderful local Arizona legend, and let me tell you something, you ain't never seen it even like this. It's Rebornika.
Hey y'all, just want to come on here, real as fuck, no makeup, no nothing, and I'm so excited to be here. So I got my eyeliner smeared from last night.
You want to show them who the real is? Yeah.
You ain't never seen a like this.
How are you doing today?
I'm chilling. I just woke up, got in drag, and I'm like, giggle, smile.
Slay the world. Okay, so today I'm really excited to be talking about this movie. We are going to be talking about Tetsuo the Iron Man, which, listen, I feel like... Actually, hold on. We're going to get into that in a second.
God.
Let me... At the beginning of every podcast, we talk... or I ask you a couple of questions just that way the audience can get to know you a little bit better. First and foremost, the obligatory, how'd you get your drag name?
Originally... When I was starting drag, the vision for my character was, like, a lot more, like, religious-based, and I was like, I'm gonna be, like, this priest, goddess, god kind of, like, thing, and so, like, reborn, Christ is reborn, Rebornika, and I was like, it kind of sounded like a name, like Veronica, you know, shit like that, and I was like, that's cute, and I also thought of it in a Little Caesars parking lot, and was like, that's good. And ever since then, I feel like I haven't stuck as hard to, like, the religious thing. Like, I'll go there sometimes, but I'm like, no, I'm just kind of like a little freak. But the name's cute, so I stuck with it.
No, it's cute. Why'd you get started doing drag?
Well, I'm an attention whore, first of all, so I like people telling me that I'm beautiful and that I'm hot and I'm gorgeous and, like, I'm so talented and, like, whatever, and I'm like, yeah, I know. But, I also, just, like, ever since I was, like, a kid, like, I had kind of grown up, like, doing, like, cosplay and, like, special effects makeup and, you know, shit like that, and I liked to go to haunted houses, and I was like, I like to be spooky ooky. And then, I mean, like, you know, we watched a show, and I was like, oh, that's fierce, like, maybe I can do that, but, like, the spooky kind, and then I found out that you could do the spooky kind, and then I just kind of put all the pieces together and was like, I can be scary, look hot, and be gay. Perfect.
Slay. I kind of had, like, a similar story where I, like, watched... No, I didn't watch Dragula. I watched Drag Race, and I, like, loved Willem, and I was like, I'm gonna be like Willem, but, like, really gory.
Get into this gag. I think the first drag queen that I ever saw was Milk in her big muscle suit.
Bitch.
And I think that is, like, that definitely warped my perception of drag, but, like, in a good way.
When I started, I was like, nobody else does what I'm gonna do. They're all gonna gag. And then, like, well, first I saw Sharon Needles, and I was like, oh, well, fuck, whoops. And then I saw Dragula, and I was like, oh, double whoops. Like,
yeah.
I guess everyone does it, apparently.
And honestly, I felt like the same way, but I'm just like, nobody's doing it the way that I'm doing, so.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like we're pretty unique. I feel like we're pretty out there.
I think we're pretty unique. Like, yeah. You could argue that we have, like, some elements from some people, but nobody looks like us.
Nobody looks like us, nobody performs like us, nobody...
Why would they want to? Sorry.
Yeah.
Shade button.
Okay, and then where do you pull your drag inspo from?
I think where I'm at now, I get a lot of my inspiration from, I think, a lot of, like, psychobilly and, honestly, like, vintage pornography, at least, like, in terms of just, like, the kind of, like, the essence that I try to give Rebornika. Like, I want her to just be kind of, like, a little slut, but, like,
yes.
Spooky. And I think two movies that, like, really, like, I think molded my drag character are House of a Thousand Corpses and VHS 94.
I was gonna say, you give very Rob Zombie drag. Like, this drag character belongs in a Rob Zombie movie.
Yeah, I think if I had to pick one, I get a lot of my inspiration from, like, everything that Rob Zombie does.
Yeah.
Like, I like to look like that I crawled off the set of, like, a Rob Zombie music video and just, like, never took it off.
Have you ever performed a Rob Zombie song or no?
Yeah, I've done, like, 5.
Okay, yeah. Love that. But yeah, that's all the questions I had for you. Are you ready to get into this movie?
Yeah. I said I love talking about myself. Anyway.
So do I. I was going to do
also
a
love
podcast.
talking about Tetsuo.
I was gonna do a podcast with just me, and I was like, well, I still, like, I don't want to do a like, how do I word this? Like, everybody else gets asked questions. I want to answer questions about myself, but then I took too long answering the questions.
I'd be like, what was the first time you pooped in drag?
Have you ever almost pooped yourself in drag?
Oh, have I?
I remember one time I was doing Cirque du Soleil, and I, like, just went on. I never, ever leave a show early. Like, I, like, think it's weird. Unless, like, I have a reason to. But that night, I, like, finished my number. I went up to Trey, and I was like, Trey, I'm gonna shit my pants if I don't leave right now. And was I gonna? Yes!
Oh, okay. Honestly, I don't know if I've ever, like, really almost shit myself, but, like, honestly, I do it all the time where, I realize that I haven't, like, drank water all day long, and then I'm, like, at the show, and I'm like, shit, I should probably drink a bunch of water before I go on. But then, like, I look at the set list, and I'm next, and then I realize that I just drank, like, a gallon of water on my own. And then I'm like, wouldn't it be a gag if I just pissed myself on stage in front of everybody?
You know what I just remembered? When I was performing in Portland, I was doing my Shut Up and Drive number where I pretend to get into a car crash. Mm. I remember I jumped on the ground and immediately, like, as I hit the ground, I ripped the loudest ass. Like, like it was timed so perfectly. But, like, also the music was playing, so I don't actually know if anybody heard it, but, like,
no, there's a video of it. Everybody heard. You went home, and that night they were like, did you see that girl who farted loud as fuck?
Loud as fuck.
No, but honestly, like, literally, like, this, like, last Ego Death, I was, like, about to go on, and I was like, I'm about to pee myself.
Oh, Ego Death, I'm crop dusting those bitches. All the way around.
I'm like, oops. If I fart and you smell it, you're lucky. Yeah. Cherish the moment.
Cherish the moment, give us a 5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, let's get into this movie. Before watching this, what did you think about going into this movie?
I mean, I knew essentially nothing, honestly. I think I just, like, came over one day, and you were like, do you want to watch Tetsuo the Iron Man? And I was like, what the fuck? And then I was like, yeah, because I think just, I could tell that it was going to be, like, some kind of, like, body horror, little moment going on, and I like shit like that, so I was, like, down, but I genuinely had zero idea what this movie was about other than, like, robot.
Yeah. I mean, it's very, like, what's what I'm thinking of? Transhumanism, very, like, body horror, like...
And I think that we watched this movie because we were, like, talking about transhumanism and how we're both a fan of it.
Yes. So, 2 transhuman genders.
2 transhumans talking about transhumanism.
Yes.
So think.
So when we watched this, I feel like we're on the same page about this. I feel like I got a good 20 minutes following along with it, and then after that, I was purely in it for the visuals. Like, the first time I watched it, like, I was like, I don't know what the fuck is happening. I don't think that there's a story. This is just a really cool looking movie, and I'm just gonna kind of go with it.
Yeah.
And then watching it again, I was like, oh, wait a minute, there's actually, like, a very, like, deep story here. It's very clear.
This is definitely one of those movies that you have to watch, like, more than once, like, if you want to get it. Because even, like, watching it the first time, I totally kind of, like, got that where I was like, at this point I'm watching it for the visuals, like, I don't know what the fuck's going on. But, like, even then, like, I still, like, I could tell that there was, like, something that was happening, and, like, it wasn't all nonsense. Upon, like, my, like, second or third rewatch, do I have any, like, super clear idea, like, what that might be? Still no, but I do think that it is supposed to be, like, one of those movies that is, like, so fucking wild and so out there that it's supposed to be confusing, and, like, you are supposed to just kind of interpret it in, like, whatever way you do.
Well, the gag is that here's the thing about this movie, you have to, like, actively be watching it, and here's my thing, and I say this literally every single episode, I do not like trying to pick up symbolism in movies. I think it's lame. It's not lame, okay, it's, like, whatever, but I personally, it's not for me. That concept just is not for me. Yeah. I like to just watch the movie, and I like everything to be told to me, and just, like, point blank in the period is, like, over.
I like it sometimes, because then it makes me feel smart.
No, couldn't be me.
And I'm like, oh, my brain. Oh, my brain.
Have you seen the movie The Lobster?
No.
Oh, my God.
Everybody that movie, rushing towel.
I guarantee you that movie has so much symbolism in it, but, like, honestly, to me, that is a movie about a man who does not want to become a lobster. And I know that sounds confusing, but I need you to watch the movie to understand. Okay. Because I don't think I can describe that movie in, like, a short period of time.
I mean, like, even, like, just, like, back to, like, Tetsuo and, like, it, like, having, like, all this, like, symbolism, like, and, like, all this, like, confusing shit, I'm, like, I think that you can still watch this movie and, like, enjoy it on, like, the surface level of, like, oh, shit, like, this guy's turning into fucking metal and he can't stop it and there's nothing he can do. That's pretty scary.
It is a very visually stimulating movie. I love the
A
visuals of
lot
this
goes
movie.
on. Also, do you know what else I wanted? I'm like, I feel like I wrote this shit down, but like,
Talk about it.
I can't read. Just kidding. But
You with your reading glasses?
yeah, I'm like,
I can't read.
Office Siren. I'm like, but this movie came out in like 1989.
Yeah.
And doesn't it feel so much older?
Well, because it's in black and white, which that was like super stylized. I love a stylized black and white movie, except for The Lighthouse. Fuck The Lighthouse, but I digress.
But I mean, like, for example, it's like, like, I watched The Lighthouse, and I could tell, like, that this movie was just, like, a movie that was in black and white. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
for no reason.
Like, it just felt a little bit older, but I'm like, with Tetsuo, I feel like, not just it being in black and white, but the way that they filmed it, and, like, all, like, the stop motion and all the practical effects, and, like, honestly, they did, like, human stop motion. I'm like, just everything about it made it feel, like, a lot older than it is, because I'm like, if you look at movies that came out around the same time, I'm like, they were still using, like, even if it wasn't, like, top of the fucking line, like, they were still using, like, VFX and, like, you know, like, they had, like, big latex bags full of blood and shit, but, like, they were just kind of, like...
You know, this movie took, like, 18 months to film, too. Like, it had,
Yeah,
like, this crazy
I found that
little...
out.
I thought that was crazy.
And people... It was because people kept fucking quitting.
Did they really? Damn.
Yeah, well, it was just because of, like, how, like, long it was taking, and I think that eventually, like, the actor himself and, like, the guy who played... Because, like, he doesn't have a name. It's Salaryman.
Yeah.
The fetishist.
I thought his name was Tetsuo.
No. Tetsuo is just, like, the name of the movie.
Yeah, I know. Did you know Tetsuo means Metal Man, so this movie is called Metal Man, the Iron Man?
Yeah. I'm like, so...
Yeah,
whenever people are like, who's Tetsuo? I'm like, it's just the movie sisters.
Yep.
But... What the fuck is he saying? Oh, yeah. But then they had the guy, like, who was, like, playing the salaryman, and, like, the girl who's playing the girlfriend, like, helping doing lighting and, like, helping, like, stage shots and stuff. And I'm like, you're having him do all that while you got him in this big, like, jumpsuit of, like, literal metal, because when they first made the costume, they were, like, literally just, like, piling actual metal, like, on top of him. And
I'm pretty sure they did that, like, not even just the first time they made the costume. I think it was every time they made the costume.
Yeah. Like, the first time, I think, like, when they started trying to film, they had this dude just, like, sit there, and then they just, like, kept applying more makeup and more metal, and it was, like, industrial fucking adhesive, too. And eventually, and, like, when they were like, all right, time to film, it was, like, too heavy for him to move, and then they had to spend the rest of the day taking it off, and by the time they had finished all of that, they didn't even have any time to film.
That's funny as fuck.
I know. I'm like, that's like you making an outfit as fuck.
No, I was gonna say, this movie gives me very, like, this is what it would be like if we made a movie. Like, this is very drag.
I'm like, this is drag.
This is fucking drag.
Honestly, on the topic of calling this movie drag, can we talk about how fucking gay this movie is?
This movie's gay as fuck. Wait,
this
okay,
movie
hold
is
on.
Gay as fuck.
Let's actually get into, like, the movie. We're not gonna go into it, like, chronologically like we normally do on the podcast, where I, like, pretty much tell the movie like a story, because I kind of want to try doing something different. But I do want to go through the movie chronologically, and I feel like talking about how gay it is chronological, because there is a point where, like, a switch flips in the movie, you know what I mean? Oh, also, one more thing that I want to say before actually getting into the movie is I feel like this movie kind of belongs in, like, the Sci-Fi Hall of Fame. Like, I feel like when we're talking about movies like Alien and The Thing and stuff like that, where they're, like, very iconic pieces of sci-fi horror, like, movies, whatever, I feel like we should also be talking about Tetsuo. I feel like this movie genuinely does kind of deserve that, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I absolutely. Because, I mean, well, first of all, did you know that Tetsuo, like, the guy who made it, like, forgive me for not remembering, like, all these people's names, like, LMAO, but Tetsuo was, like, originally a short film that he just expanded on.
I feel like that's, like, literally every horror movie, but I didn't know that. I'm gonna have to watch it.
Tetsuo, and it was, like, he had, like, a little group of them, and I think that one of them was, like Electric Bullet Man or some shit like that. I don't know. He has a bunch of them, and I want to watch the rest of them. But just, like, Tetsuo is, like, his, like, big one, and Tetsuo was, like, only, like, released in Japan originally, and honestly, it, like, was not this, like, fucking blockbuster or anything.
Yeah.
And it actually only, like, really sprung to popularity when it started getting, like, shared around, like, outside of Japan, because, like, for some reason I was watching, like, a video and I was, like, reading some article or something. And for some reason, at least at the time, people in Japan did not like watching movies from Japan. They just didn't care.
Well, especially, like, independent artists, they did
especially,
not.
Especially independent artists. But then this movie eventually got, like, entered into, like a film festival, like, competition type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then it, like, won because it was, like, so, like, fucking crazy. And then I feel like ever since then, it's just, like, really, like, set, like, this, like, not, like, the standard, but it definitely, like, is, like,
It like raised the bar for
like that kind of like body horror, like transformation kind of horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think it really like stands on its own, even like if you could like draw some similarities to like, you know, like The Fly and stuff like that.
Actually, I've never seen The Fly. Does this have similar, like, is this like similar?
I think in a sense, mostly because I think The Fly was like one of the first movies where it's like, you know, like body horror transformation.
Yeah.
And like at the end, like, you know, you're like this big grotesque like monster.
That's true.
And I'm like, but even if it kind of like follows like that same formula, I'm like, Tetsuo was like its own thing. No other movie had existed like that.
Yeah. It's a super unique movie too. Okay. Let's get into it. The opening scene. Let's talk about it because I feel like this movie starts off strong.
This queen,
this queen, the metal fetishist.
Okay, so this diva, I'm like, she's so crazy. Love her.
I love the way that this movie kind of depicts like the like sensory aspect of everything, like the metal grinding against the teeth and going into the skin.
Yeah.
Like it makes you feel like ugh when you watch it.
The sound design is like fucking incredible.
I agree. Oh my god, the music in this movie is so good.
The music in this movie is great. I'm sure we'll get into it like later, but like I love all like the metal like grindy noises that they lay over like very like organic like movements.
I agree.
It's like that guy like dragging that through his teeth. Like realistically, like maybe wouldn't make that noise, but I'm like the fact that it does is like iconic.
Yeah.
And then like later in the movie, like when the girlfriend is like, you know, like eating like the sausage, like trying to like turn her like boyfriend on, like as she's like licking it, like, it's sounding like fucking nails on a chalkboard, like metal screeching. Like I just love it. It's one of those movies where I'm like I love everything about it and like the little things I could talk about it forever.
Yeah. I also like back to like the metal fetishes too. Like it's all of that, and then it's also like how grotesque it is. Like it's like really cool, but then it's also like it makes you kind of shiver. And then there's also like the maggots that are like in his leg, which cause him to freak out. And then
because like, I was Mama, let's research.
Talk about it. Yeah.
So I was like really trying to like figure out like all that I could about this movie, and then eventually I found out that like, or maybe not like found out, but like from like the conclusion that I came to is the metal fetishist was like doing some kind of like fucking ritual or something.
Oh yeah, I thought he was jerking off to the pictures of the
well, he was, but it was a very like sexually charged ritual.
What?
Because you know, he's like sliding the rod in and out of like his like open leg wound as he's like looking at these pictures of athletes.
Like define ritual. Like does jerking off count as a ritual? Because I feel like
honestly, yeah. I'm like in this movie, I would argue that like sex counts as a ritual because I feel like anytime anybody in this movie has sex, some shit happens.
It's a whole thing when people have sex.
It's a whole thing about having sex in the movie. That's another thing that I love about this movie is I love how like sexually charged it is.
It is, and it's also like the sex is always symbolic. Like nobody's ever just having sex.
Yeah, but the metal fetishist. So he does that with the rod. He's having a grand old time, and then he looks down, and then his like leg is just full of maggots. You know, which is like obviously you're gonna freak out a little bit. Nobody wants maggots in their leg, especially when they're just trying to have a little session.
Maggots, more like gaggots.
That.
Faggots. Okay.
Yeah, that.
Can we say that on Spotify? I don't know. Just
bleep it.
Yeah, we'll see. So after this scene, we get like a whole shot of the salaryman. We get a whole shot of the salaryman like doing these like artistic dances. Normally, I would kind of hate this, but I kind of like the way the movie like it kind of takes these random little breaks in between being so serious and nasty, and then it includes these shots that they all usually mean something, but they're also just like stupid and silly too. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The jazz sequence with the car that was supposed to symbolize the metal fetish just getting run over by a car was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it is a whole lot for an opening sequence. Like a lot happens at once, and I feel like very quickly into the movie, it's like, girl, what the fuck? I'm like, I think, but also, you know how I was like trying to like say it was like some sort of like ritual or whatever?
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure if like I used like the right verbiage or whatever.
Okay.
But the reason that I just like kind of like came to that conclusion is because, and like spoiler alert, I guess, but like I mean like we're talking about the whole movie, so like go watch it.
Yeah, no, if you've seen this movie or
go
if you're
watch the movie, otherwise you're
gonna
be confused, sisters. The fact that like they just thought he died and then like they dumped his body and then they like were like let's fuck, mama. Girl, I'm like, girl, that dead body's making me horny.
Ooh. No, I'm pretty sure
babe, will you fuck me next to the dead body? But I'm like, you see, like, from the perspective of, like, the guy, like, laying, like, wherever they dumped him, watching them have sex. And then this is back to me, like, thinking this movie is gay as fuck, is because I think I heard, not like, I didn't, like, come to this conclusion myself, but I know somebody else, like, picked up on this. He was, like, looking at the guy while he was having sex.
Wait, hold on. We're gonna get to that part in a little bit, because that's, like, a whole...
Okay.
Because that's when it starts getting gay as fuck. But the beginning of this movie really does not have really very... like, any dialogue at all, which I kind of liked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know I was rewatching it with, like Zena and Hava, and both of them were like, is this, like, a fucking silent film? Like, what the hell?
Nope. It just takes them a second to warm up. Another, like, back to, like, the whole, like, sensory stuff happening, the metal's taking out of his face, which apparently, I didn't realize how important that was, but apparently that was, like, his start to becoming, like, a metal monster. I just kind of thought it was part of, like, I thought it was just a fun little body horror, like, thing that they included.
Like the pimple in the cheek?
Yeah, apparently that was, like, a razor that accidentally got in his face.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that part was nasty as fuck. Also the chase scene with this fierce diva. I love her.
First of all, I'm like, hold on, what the fuck was I saying?
Because this is when the movie starts getting, like, weird.
Yeah. I'm like, well, like, just, like, the girl who's, like, sitting at the train station, like, with him, and then, like, she sees, like, that, like, just kind of, like, amalgamation of, like, yucky metal, like, shit on the floor.
Yeah.
And then she, like, pokes it with her pen.
And then, like, flips a switch at her.
And then it, like, immediately, it almost, like, to me, it, like, seemed like possession. Like,
yeah.
I would argue that Tetsuo is a possession movie.
I thought we were talking about the movie Possession. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, I've seen Possession. But
That's
no, I would argue that Tetsuo is a possession movie. Because it seemed like as soon as she like made contact with that thing, it like took over her body.
I think I'm gonna have to disagree with you, because I wouldn't really say this is as much possession as it is just kind of like a body horror. Like, I think it's a lot more biological than just like possession.
Maybe
like, if we're thinking about this in like the literal sense, like the metal is taking over their body. So I guess in the sense the metal is possessing them, but I guess
less possession, more like infestation.
Yeah, I would agree. Infestation's a good one.
So I guess it's like as soon as you become, it's like weird. It's like in this universe, once you like make contact with the metal, it's like it becomes part of you and just like destroys your body.
God forbid you trust a rusty spoon.
God forbid you trust a rusty spoon. But let's talk about that chase sequence, because this diva.
This is like when the movie gets like weirder, I guess. Like, we had that like scene in the beginning which you kind of got introduced to like the body horror aspect of it, and now you were getting introduced to like the fact that like people are starting to come after this man, and there's like a whole psychological aspect to it. Like, is this woman really chasing him, or is this just him being delusional because metal's taking over his body, this, that, and the other? But regardless, she's fierce.
She is fierce. I also loved there's just kind of like the gradual transformation, like as she chased him, because it's like at first it was like mostly just her arm, and then she was like just gonna like, and then he was like running away. But then it's like the next time you saw her, she had some in her face. The next time you saw her, both of her arms were like, you know, like fucked up. And then the next time you saw her, and she was like 50% metal at this point. And it just kind of like showed how quickly the infection like takes over your body.
This part of the movie, and this isn't really skipping ahead a lot, because it's all kind of like the same lump. Like, she's chasing him around, and then it's fierce and whatever. But this part of the movie, I feel like, is when the queerness of it starts to come into play too. Because I don't know if you noticed, but like when she's talking, at some points her voice goes from like being her voice to like a very masculine, like male voice.
That is kind of like why. Like, I know, like, you disagreed, and, like, I'm not sure exactly, like, how I feel in terms of, like, how much I, like, believe that this movie is, like, about possession anymore, but I'm, like, it almost felt like the fetishist was, like, using her body as a vessel to get closer to the, like, to the salary man.
Oh, so you think the metal fetishist was possessing her?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that he does possess his girlfriend's body later, so actually, I guess I could kind of see that.
So, I think that the metal fetishist is using people around him to get closer to him, like whether it be just like this diva at the train stop or it's his girlfriend, because like it does happen to his girlfriend, and then I want to talk about that more later, but you know what I mean.
So this first lady, she dies, and then we start getting we see him kind of like rejecting his like transformation of his body, but then we kind of start seeing, like, the rejection start going and mixing in with, like, his desire of, like, what he really wants, which is butt sex, because we see this lovely lady, she's wonderful, shoves a rusty metal pipe right into his ass. And I knew immediately, I was like, this is butt sex. This is a metaphor for butt. I wouldn't even say it's a metaphor. It is quite literally butt sex.
It is literally butt sex. Well, it wasn't even, like, just, like, a big metal rod. Are we talking about the girl with, like, her fierce, like, big metal, like, strap-on?
Yeah.
It was at that point where, like, I realized, I was like, the first time that we watched it, I was like, I did not pick up on how gay this is.
I thought it was just, like, straight people doing butt stuff, and then like, watching it again, I was like, oh, it's not straight people doing butt stuff, it's
like,
gay
at this point, like, you kind of realize that it's, like, even though he's rejecting the metal in, like, some way, the metal, I feel like, is still approaching him through the point of, like, his desires.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's, like, the way that it's, like, getting him, because I'm like, he wants to be fucked in the butthole.
Because let me tell you something, you can sit there and you can pretend like you don't have all this metal coming out of your body, but at the end of the day, if you want to get fucked in the butt with a rusty rod, it's like...
You might be transforming into metal before your very eyes, but if you like second cock, there's nothing we can do about that.
Let me tell you something. You're gonna gag.
Yeah, I'm gonna gag.
I don't know what you're gonna gag on.
Gag on it.
Gag.
Yeah. So, girlfriend... Was that his girlfriend? I don't know.
Oh, yeah, so...
Yeah, that was his girlfriend.
No, that wasn't his girlfriend.
It wasn't?
I don't think so. To be honest, this movie does a thing where they, like, flip-flop actors and stuff, like, in between scenes. Like, I know at some points a metal fetishist and his girlfriend switch every once in a while, so I'm gonna be so honest. I am, like, 80% sure that's not his girlfriend.
That was the fetishist in drag, JK, but...
Yeah. But after the scene, we get into him and his girlfriend, and we start seeing that queerness come into play. Like you said earlier, she's, like... Okay, but actually... They're, like, having sex, and then she's, like, eating all this food. And as she's eating it, you hear all these, like, metal noises.
Well, it's because... It's, like... I think that was important because it's, like, they're doing, like, a very human thing to do. Like, they're having dinner.
True.
And even, like, while they're just, like, having dinner, and, like, you know, she starts, like, getting, like, more, like, flirtatious with it. Because, like, you know, she's horny. Queen. Like, same. But even, like, just, like, having dinner... Like, you hear, like, the metal, you hear the grinding, you hear the scraping, and she's not really reacting, and he's, like, you know, like, kind of, like, wincing, and, like...
Yeah.
It's obviously, like, affecting him. He's getting turned on.
Because, yeah, like, I think... Because she's just eating the food, and then you kind of hear it, like, the noises, but then when you hear... Or then when he feeds her the hot dog, that's when the noises kind of get, like, amplified, so that's what kind of made me be like, oh, he's getting turned on by just these actions, so he's hearing the noises. Ooh, now it's scrolling away. But yeah, no. Gets turned on to the noises, and instead of getting a boner, he instead pops a giant drill boner. A giant metallic drill boner.
Oh, get into the drill boner.
I love the drill boner. I don't know about you.
I love the drill boner.
See, here's my thing.
So iconic.
If I had a giant drill boner, I think I could probably pass on getting reassignment surgery.
Yeah.
For me.
I'm gonna walk into the hospital and just have, like, that video pulled up, and I'm like, can I get one of these?
How much would one of these cost?
I'm like, how do I get it to go? But I'm like, I don't know, kind of iconic that he's just like, oh, I just have a little boner, and then next thing you know, his cock is, like, drilling through the dining room table.
And again, it's very much like this part is a lot of, like, visual stuff happening. Like, it's very visually interesting to watch, but it's also kind of representing the fact that it's supposed to be representing that they're not compatible anymore, because unfortunately, like, she's just a girl who cannot take his giant drill cock.
She's just a girl. She did not sign up for all this drill cock mess.
And he ends up, like, chasing her around, and she's, like, scared, so she stabs him, and then she tries to take his giant drill cock after he's dead. And then, like, that's supposed to be, like, the whole, like, well, they're incompatible, so of course she can't put a fucking drill cock inside of her.
I think this is, like, when you kind of see the metal, like, infection kind of really, like, take over, like, and there's, like, really no turning back at this point, because it's, like,
he's been progressing this whole time.
You got a big drill dick, you're scary and aggressive, and your girlfriend's, like, trying to kill you now. Like, mama, it's over.
Big drill cock, gag on it.
Gag on it.
And then that's when we get to the part where they go and shove that one metal fetish's body into a ravine, and then they start fucking over it. So I'm pretty sure that they get horny by killing people, because if you don't, why did you sit on his drill cock after killing him? You know what I mean?
Exactly. Okay. I wasn't exactly sure how to like really tie this in smoothly or anything, but this whole movie really reminds me of, there was this book that I read called The Sluts. Oh. And it was about online forums full of mostly men who just kind of had really fucked up and bizarre kinks and fetishes, and that ranged from the stuff is obviously bad to people who get turned on by genuinely harmful shit.
Yeah.
And in the death and shit that turns them on. And it really reminded me of that in the way that I was curious about these people. I'm what would this guy who says that he likes to shove metal into his open wounds that turns him on, what would that look like? And it's oh, this guy. And then it's these girl this couple who gets horny when they see dead people, stuff like that. Just how certain fetishes can be detrimental to your life if you don't find an alternative.
Yeah.
And I'm like, sister, just jerk it. You don't got to put that rod in your leg. Come on, mama.
Also, speaking of fetishes, did you see my Spunk t-shirt?
Hi, Spunk t-shirt.
Hey, Spunk t-shirt.
Hey, Spunk t-shirt.
Have you heard of the Crop Top? Huh?
Have you heard of the Tart Queens?
Okay.
Trying to get the kids cultured. Okay, but yeah. So, they fuck over this guy's dead body. And we kind of touched on it earlier about how this movie is gay. And I'm and then this is another one of the bigger gay moments. I'm while he is having sex with his girlfriend over this guy's dead body, he is not breaking eye contact with the fetishes.
Yes, because he was attracted as fuck to the fetishes.
He was attracted as fuck to the fetishes. He wanted that twink bad.
Also, the metal fetishist coming back to life and then immediately putting on eyeliner. This movie came out in the 80s.
Fierce liner.
This movie came out in the 80s. Listen, the 80s were so gay, and I feel like we always talk about little subtle nods to homosexuality in horror movies. This is up there with Nightmare on Elm Street 2. Is this is just gay as hell.
Yes,
this is not subtly gay.
I was literally just about to bring up Nightmare on Elm Street 2. I'm it is so in your face queer that it's you really can't deny it. I'm sorry, but I'm that. The amount of just phallic shaped rods being inserted inside of men.
This is such a phallic movie. This is a crazy phallic movie.
I'm if you think it's supposed to look like a dick, it's supposed to look like a dick.
It is absolutely supposed to look like a dick.
And I just love it. His fierce eyeliner. I'm
I was thinking about trying to do it, but I was I don't know. I'm not really.
I thought about trying to do it, but I was I'll just glue tinfoil to my face. Wait, look at it. Isn't that gag?
Yeah, get into it. Ooh,
get into my metal nose.
Wait, hold on. Pull aside the bang. Show the forehead.
Oh.
Yes.
Get into it, mama.
It's giving very Doctor Doom.
Yeah.
I wonder if Doctor Doom is inspired by this movie at all. Or at least the movie version of Doctor Doom. Anyway. Yeah. So then the metal fetishist starts attacking the salaryman, and I am kind of thinking this is a metaphor for him rejecting his queerness.
Okay, 2 words. Toxic yaoi.
Not that. But they go through this very, very beautifully shot scene where, what's the word? Stop motion. It's all stop motion. It looks sickening. I love the way that they do the stop motion in this film and the way that they incorporate it. But I can't really make sense of all of that other than just him rejecting his queerness. I don't understand why else that.
I think the metal fetishist, especially coming back, was very symbolic of the salaryman trying to run away from his desires and his queerness, and obviously it did not work out for him.
He saw the TV glow.
He saw the TV glow, girls. I think this whole movie really has it's hard to pinpoint one theme onto it just because so much happens and it is so crazy. Yeah. But I do think that the movie kind of has this theme of desire is the root of all evil, essentially, or it's desire is the root of destruction.
Yeah.
Not in the sense of being gay, because that would be #homophobic, but in the sense that the metal fetishist is spreading his weird metal makes me get boners, and I like to put it in my legs.
Also, I forget when this scene actually shows up, so I might be skipping a little bit. But the part where, I don't know if you realize this is what it was, because I didn't until, like, after I looked it up. But the scene where they're just, like, it's just, like, this really, really beautiful, like, city. Like, it looks creepy and crazy. Apparently, that was the metal fetishist showing him a world made out of metal and rust.
Yeah.
I was gagged. I was like, damn, they went crazy on this.
You know those shots of, like, the metal fetishist, like, in, like, that weird, like, kind of, like, metal, like, purgatory almost?
Yes.
Like, I guess that was supposed to be kind of, like, him, like, in, like, his, like, own, like, weird, like, little, like, world, which is, like, why I'm, like, Mom, he's possessing people. Like, that's his demon metal world. I love the way that looked. I loved how weird and yucky and nasty and wet it was.
Also, honestly, we're coming up on the end of the movie, which, by the way, this is a really short movie. This movie's only like an hour long.
It's only like an hour long.
It feels a lot longer because you're trying to follow along with it.
Yeah.
But it's only like an hour long. One thing that I really want to talk about is the way that, like, so the metal fetishist loses his powers, and then the salaryman becomes, like, a blob of metal, and then the salaryman absorbs the metal fetishist. I thought this was really cool because they do, like, this whole, like, scene where the metal fetishist is trying to get out, but then the salaryman is just sucking him back in. This was supposed to, like, represent them, like, exploring each other's bodies, and I kind of thought that was, like, a really cool way of showing that.
Toxic yaoi.
Bitch, oh my god.
I'm sorry. It just is. Sorry about it. I saw toxic yaoi, so I said toxic yaoi.
Gag on it. You know what? Clock it.
I'm like, I don't know, I'm still... The gag of, like, his girlfriend, like, having all those, like, flowers grow over her, and then just, like, the metal fetish is just kind of, like, turning her into fucking mulch and, like, crawling out of her, basically.
My first metal implant was rusty before I began to assimilate to it, as opposed to your stainless steel shaver. I don't know why. I actually never know. I couldn't that part out, too, because I forgot why I wrote that down. Oh, but one thing that I did skip over is,
that part did stick out to me, though.
Right? I was like...
the rust versus stainless steel.
Does the rust mean anything? Because I kind of was like, is the rust...
I'm unsure if it really means anything other than, like, how their body is transformed, because I feel like if you look at the metal fetishist, the way that he's transforming, he's, like, really grimy and, like, greasy and stuff, and then if you, like, look at the salaryman, you know, he's obviously still, like, jacked up, but he just seems, like, shinier, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. Plus, also, the, like, salaryman seems more powerful. Like, he has more shit on him. Yeah,
so it seems like the rest...
Salaryman... The salaryman has the most amount of metal glued onto him, so he must be the more powerful one.
Yeah. I'm like, the bigger one is the stronger one, so... But yeah,
I think the stainless steel razor.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it had any, like, deep symbolism, but, like, I'm sure that it, at least, like, in terms of character design, meant something. But I did love the fetishist Fifi Fierce eyeliner. He was mugged. Also,
the salaryman is definitely a bottom.
Oh yeah. I also wrote down, like, before, because, you know, like, they have, like, that, like, whole moment, and then they, like, transform.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know that part where, like, it was just, like, them as humans, like, briefly, and, like, they were, like, kind of, like, touching hands?
I was about to say that, too. I was like, I interpreted that to be crazy gay sex.
I'm like, that was crazy gay sex.
That was butt sex, mama.
Because then moments later, they were, like, mashing this big, like, metal, like, giant cock. Like, they turned into this big, like, big dick.
They turned into... No, it was a tank dick. It was a very...
They turned into a big tank dick and then just, like, tore it up, mama.
Also, okay, wait, we did skip over one thing, and that was we see the salaryman, or a man beating... I believe it was the salaryman, and I kind of took this as his father beating the queerness out of him, maybe even some sort of, like, assault as a child.
Yeah.
And I just want to touch on that really quick, because I thought it was kind of an important point to the movie, just because it's about queerness and whatever. But yeah, butt sex. They had this giant cock tank, which I am obsessed with, and I kind of want to recreate it.
Yeah. Girls, let's make a giant cock tank. But during that, like, during that, like, whole scene, you know, like, with the, you know, like, the hashtag yaoi and then the transformation, I loved the fetishist, like, kind of, like, basically telling the salaryman, like, there's, like, no turning back, like, you can't run from this, like, this is who you are now. And again, like, you can interpret that as queerness, but just, your future is metal, fierce.
Also, our love can destroy this whole fucking world.
I was just about to say, our love can destroy this whole planet. I'm like, that, our love will destroy the universe. I'm like, kiss already.
No, I'm like, what, y'all not gonna kiss?
You guys aren't gonna make out? What the hell?
Which, honestly, that's kind of the whole movie. He obviously comes to terms with his queerness and lives his life out as a giant cock tank. Which I love that. I kind of love that for him.
I think if I had to, like, pick, like, one thing that I would say that this movie is about, I guess I would try to be, like, you know...
I mean, this movie's pretty queer. It's about queerness.
This movie is pretty queer. And if I had to, like, give it, like, an overarching, like, theme, I guess it would kind of be, like, you know, you can't run from it, and if the longer you try to, you know, pretend to be something else, the worse it's going to get for you.
This is, like, the rated R version of I Saw the TV Glow. Like, they have the same message.
Charlie, can you get me back?
Yeah, sure.
Wait, nobody's gonna know what the fuck we're talking about.
I know.
I saw your mom glow. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay, out of 10, what would we rate this movie? I'd give it like a 7, maybe an 8. No, I'd give it a 9.
I was gonna say I would give this like a 9.
It's a pretty good movie.
I have the way that I watch movies is I'm not like going so much like
attention to them.
I'm not like really like film broing out or anything, and I'm not gonna be like, oh, the cinematography was divine, the casting choice was magnificent. I'm like, if it
this
looks
movie
cool,
was actually about Catholicism.
Oh my, so this movie's actually about Catholicism and Dante's Inferno and stuff.
You ever watch Star Wars with a straight guy?
I would never subject myself to that in my fucking life. Thank you.
Don't. Literally the worst experience I've ever had.
So, Chewbacca pissing himself is actually symbolic of Christ.
This movie's actually about religion. You didn't know? Well, and then they don't shut the fuck up for the next 3 hours. I'm like, oh my god.
It's like, alright, can I suck your dick yet, or what?
That guy.
Right.
Go get him, girl.
But yeah, but the way that I watch movies is I'm just gonna like, if it looked cool, I like the movie.
That's tea.
So this movie absolutely excelled in that department, so I would say that this movie is definitely a 9, and honestly, I'm like, I would give it a 10. I love this movie.
I would give it a 10, but I would give it a 9. I would give it a 9. I might give it an 11.
You know what? I'll give it a 10. I'll give it 9 out of 11.
It gets a 9 out of 11 for me.
It's a 9 out of 11 for me.
You know,
yeah,
wait, hold on. I'm gonna cut the... There's a segment that I like to do at the end of every single movie. I think this is going to be extremely difficult for this movie because I stole this from a podcast called Spooky Tuesdays. There are a bunch of girls who also review horror movies every single Tuesday. If you haven't heard of them, go watch them. They're great.
Yeah.
But they ask at the end of their podcasts, how could we make this movie gayer? This is such a gay movie. I genuinely don't think you can.
I think if you made this movie any gayer, it would take away from the movie, honestly.
I would agree.
Like, genuinely, I cannot think of anything else that, like would add to this movie, like, that would make it better in terms of gayness.
I would agree completely. I think, there was quite a bit of butt sex, both straight and gay butt sex.
This is also one of those movies that I'm like, I'm sorry, straight people, like, you have to be gay to, like, realize how gay it is.
Yeah, plus, this movie is not for straight people. This movie
is not for straight people. Sorry about it.
If you're straight, you're not gonna like this movie.
If you're straight, you're gonna hate this movie. Watch something else. What movie do straight people like? Go watch, like, Pitch Perfect or something.
Go watch Star Wars and talk about how Christian it is.
Yeah, go watch, like, Game of Thrones.
Go watch Narnia and talk about how Christian it is.
Yeah, go watch Harry Potter. Wait, don't.
And talk about how Christian it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't watch Harry Potter.
Don't watch Harry Potter.
Yeah, that's pretty much... I think we pretty much got to all the stuff that, like, I wanted to get to. Again, it's, like, a really short movie.
It is a short
movie. The cinematography is great. The score is great. Like, there's really not a lot I can complain about. I love the queer representation, especially, like, in the 80s. And it was so blatant, too, which is, like, so hard to come by unless you're watching fucking Nightmare on Elm Street 2, but, like, I digress.
The monster design is incredible.
Yeah.
Like,
I
don't think that there's another movie that has the, like, monster design like this movie.
I agree. And also, like, the way... Like, this movie kind of shows you that you can really do anything with any budget, which I kind of... After watching this, I don't know if you felt like this, but I was like, I kind of want to make, like, a little movie now. Like, I want to make a little Juno movie.
No, I totally felt like that. I was like, I want to make a weird little movie.
Yeah.
I was like, let me make the Reba movie. Reba, the movie. Rebornika, in theaters now. I'm like, first movie to make $0. I'm like, first movie to make $3 billion.
$3 billion? Bitch. Fun. What movie should we do next? Should we talk about doing another movie?
I was gonna ask you, can we please do House of a Thousand Corpses?
Is there another one that you want to do? I'll do House of a Thousand Corpses. I'm down.
I mean, I'll do something else if you want.
I'm not, like, the biggest fan of that movie. Nebula asked me to do Saw, and I was like, I'm not doing fucking Saw. I hate Saw.
Gag, wait. Oh my god. They hated Jesus because she spoke...
I'm sorry. No, Saw is, like, not a good movie. It's about, like... It's a movie that
Okay.
pretends like it's the goriest, craziest thing you've ever seen, then you watch it and it's about fucking cops. Hell no.
Okay, that's true. That's true.
Hell no.
I'm
That's
like,
fucking
I'm
propaganda,
not even gonna
bitch.
sit here and act like I'm like the biggest Saw fan ever.
I hate Saw.
Have you seen Ginger Snaps?
Oh my god, I love Ginger Snaps. Are we doing
Can
Ginger
we talk
Snaps?
about Ginger Snaps?
We're gonna talk about Ginger Snaps.
Let's talk
Okay.
about, that's like my favorite movie.
Tune in tomorrow for the podcast. No, I'm kidding. Okay, well, yeah, that's it.
That was fun.
Yeah. Okay,
Okay,
bye everyone. See you next week. Oops,
Okay,
sorry.
bye, hose. No,
Bye.
Giggle shine.
Bye, gag. Bye, see you next week.
Gag on it, mama.